years, and on the way back, I wrote some notes about my grandfather and wanted to share them with everyone. The Lord created us to be a shepherd and watch after all of his creation. Nobody better embodied this calling than my grandfather. Whether it was through his farming, gardening, work for the government, or his ridiculously huge gardens, Grandpa was always looking after the land and trying to do the absolute best he knew how when it came to managing God's soil. It was through the garden that I got to know him best and learned so much. As you probably know, I was Grandpa's slave labor from the time I could hold a hoe. During the summers of my most formative years, I would spend every day with Grandpa planting, weeding, watering, and picking vegetables I couldn't stand to eat myself. I didn't realize at the time, though, that Grandpa was teaching me so much more than how to garden. He taught me lessons that guide my life today. Grandpa taught me how to work hard. While everyone else got to pick corn at their own pace and dump their own buckets when they were full, I had to pack for Grandpa. This may sound nice because I only had one job, but keeping up with that man was no easy task. I don't know how, but he always found room up in a bucket, even when everyone else would have thought it was full. He could easily get 7 dozen ears into a bucket anyone else could only get 3. It was then that I learned the importance of never slacking on a job. Grandpa taught me ingenuity and using the strengths of the team around you. The first time we broke ground on what eventually became the vineyard, Grandpa's rototiller couldn't handle the job. It could spin the tines just fine, but it couldn't pull itself forward. What did Grandpa do? He tied a rope to the tiller and to me and used me to pull it through. I'm not sure what strength of mine he relied upon more, my physical abilities or my ignorance. This might be about the same time that I learned to try and think quicker than others so I wouldn't have to be the plow mule again. Grandpa taught me how to follow someone's command, but also how to be a leader. When I first started working for Grandpa, I was young and dumb, and if I didn't do exactly as he said, he let me know in a way that I'm sure many of you understand. Through the years, though, I became his number 2 man, and there were many times he would put me in charge of a crew while he went in another direction. Being in charge as an early teenager really showed me what it took to be a leader. Grandpa taught me how to value myself and my time. This might be one of the hardest lessons that I had to learn, as the payment I received for one entire summer was a lawnmower. And then, to make it worse, I didn't even get paid to mow the lawns at my parents' house. That was the year I learned to value my work and not sell myself short. Grandpa taught me to never be afraid to try something new, and that to not succeed is something totally different than to fail. His crazy adventures were the stories of legends, and everyone wanted to know what Grandpa was going to do next. In my lifetime, I remember him buying truckloads of maple syrup by the 5-gallon pail and then rebottling it for sale. A truck garden that was anywhere between 5 and 9 acres at a time, an attempt to breed and raise quail, and a vineyard on a river bottom in Wyoming. Some of these adventures turned out to be a huge success, like the garden, and some of these brought opportunity to change, like remodeling a quail coop into a house. Never did Grandpa let a lack of success and adventure kill his spirit. Nothing was ever a failure because Grandpa learned from all of them and kept on trucking to the next idea. The last thing that Grandpa taught me, though, was love. For a man who could be so tough at times, nobody had a bigger heart than my grandfather. Grandpa believed in giving everyone a chance and would open up his home to anyone. I sat at his table and talked with everyone from recovering drug users down on their luck in themselves to people revered and placed on the highest pedestals by the entire community. And Grandpa always showed everyone the same level of respect and love. He showed me that everyone can make mistakes, but nobody should be defined by them so long as they are trying to improve themselves. In 1 John chapter 4, verse 21, John wrote, "And this commandment we have from him, whoever loves God must also love his brother. Nobody better exemplified this than my grandfather. I carry all of these lessons with me that I have learned in my personal life, and they have created who I am today. Grandpa always wondered why I would want to live in Alaska, but in the end, his impact on my life and the lessons he taught me are much of what made me strong enough to be willing to go on this adventure. I want to tell him thank you for everything, but thank you isn't enough. The people that I live among in Cake are from the Tlingit tribe of Alaska Natives. In their language, thank you is Ganeshchish. But Ganeshchish doesn't simply mean thank you. It means without you, none of this would have been possible. And Grandpa, without you, none of what I have accomplished would be possible. Ganeshchish, Grandpa.